Okay, hi all. Welcome back. I'm Cyron, and in the upcoming session, we will talk about the startup pitch because you have see a few startup pitch ideas, but what is a good pitch or any tips to the teams? And it's great that we have sharing by panel speakers. Please let me introduce our panels. Mr. William Yip, Managing Director of Carousell Hong Kong. Ms. Yina Chen, co-founder of Bamboo Network. And also we'll have moderator, Mr. Jeff Hui, owner of Nocodestacks and previously COO of Young Founder School. And let me pass my time to Jeff, and please enjoy the session.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. So thank you, everyone, for joining this session. So we'll have a quick 30 minutes of sharing from Yina and William. And then, over this course, we'll cover in terms of advice on how to create a pitch and what the investors look for in a good pitch, and what are some pitfalls for teams to look out for. But before we get started, maybe have Yina and William, both of you, introduce a bit about what you guys do on a daily, and then we can kickstart the whole session.
Wow. Okay. So Jeff, thank you for that, and very nice to meet Yina, and thank you, Cyron, for the introductions. Quick introduction myself, William Ip. I work for Carousell, and I manage the Hong Kong office. And before that, I spent some time in the payment industries and also in the technology industries. So daily, without drinking, I'm working. No, I'm just kidding. So I work most of the time. And as all you know, Carousell is a young company. We are on classified. We are on the growth mode. And I think this is also the right time for me to share this information, because recently a neighbor also inject a little bit of money into Carousell, so that the investors to help us to grow to the next stage. So thank you.
Great.
Hi everyone, this is Yina Chen here. So it's nice to meet William and also Jeff. I actually met Jeff before. We've been working together on a lot of entrepreneurship education previously, and also great to meet everyone here. Because Siren luckily introduced me here to meet everyone, and also the winning teams are actually very interesting companies. So I myself, a little bit introduction is that I'm locally born and raised here in Hong Kong. That's very important because my previous job is, not my previous job, my current job, I'm currently working on two jobs. So one job is actually a venture capital firm. So we invest a lot in Canadian companies. We go a lot to Canada. That's why a lot of the time people ask me, if I'm from Canada. Definitely Hong Kong and Canada has a lot of great links together. But then what we do is actually help, the companies expand to global markets. So be it, from Asia, from Hong Kong expanding to North America, or from North America expanding here to Asia market, including Hong Kong. So what we invest a lot in, medical technology, biotechnology, AI, and I've been in this industry for a while. We invest in very early stage. And then I just started my own company this year. Actually, it's called Bamboo Network. So what we do is basically we want to help the companies grow, because when we think about what startup is actually a new business model for people to actually start their business, create their business, and grow their business, in a way faster and more more structured way. It's more like a methodology of growing a business. So what we do is actually help all these early stage companies to connect to people that they need. So be it, technical experts, consultants, legal experts, or even advisors or investors. So this is basically what Bamboo Network do by putting all the great people together to help early stage companies to grow. And what we believe our future of work is also, everyone like myself. That's why there is two jobs. So it's actually very, as long as your output or as long as your heart is there, both of them are full-time job. It doesn't mean that, sitting 9 to 6 every day in the office, two jobs times two, that means I don't have to sleep. That's not the truth. Yeah. So this is what I do mostly.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, William and Yina. And for that, Yina just kicked us off with a great pitch of Bamboo Network just now. So leads us to the topic itself. So from you guys' point of view, you've been in venture capital. William, obviously, been in senior positions, have heard a lot of different pitches, whether to your companies or you pitch to other companies. So essentially for you guys, what would make a great pitch? What do you think is a great essential element for a pitch to be successful and maybe land you an investment?
Mm-hmm.
Want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So what I really think is the first thing, most importantly, is confidence. So for me, the content, it can improve over time. But then I always say, I always think that pitch essential elements are actually what I call 3 C's. So, confident in your business idea, confident in yourself. And then secondly, you have to clearly deliver it. So when you're delivering it, that's why right now I can't see all of your faces. But if it's in a one-to-one pitch or it's like one-to-many pitches, or say in a lecture, but I can actually see, the audience face. So do they look confused? Do they actually, scratching their head, or do they actually like, oh, it sounds very interesting. Are they engaged? So having your audience to engage in your conversation is in the pitch is very, very important, because pitch itself is actually a communication process. And then also do pause in the middle to, for them to ask questions. So that is the second C. So clearly delivered. And then what I would see, the third C is actually do you have a clearly defined objective. So, be it a customer pitch, be it an investor pitch, be it an advisor pitch, it can be anyone. Or if you're pitching to a kid or pitching to your parents, are all different. If you're pitching to an investor, so later on, like we've chatted before, like William could maybe talk a little bit more about, what's important to, deliver your business idea. But then, for example, if it's pitching to investor, it might be important to go through like problem, market size, and especially future potential. But then if it's a customer pitch, do you understand your customer? What's your pain point, right? So, for example, for Bamboo Network, while we were pitching to, say, a bank, and then we would actually see that, the data or the information that we get on, how to evaluate an early stage company is actually very valuable to them. So we would go from that perspective. But then if I'm pitching to a founder, so a founder's pain point is more important than, how I tell them like, how we evaluate early stage company is actually from this perspective. So it's actually irrelevant to them. Or if I'm presenting to, say, my parents about my idea, right? Because I need to convince them, hey, I want to start my own company. So how do I actually do it? I have to pitch from a perspective that they actually understand. So I have to be able to, stand in their shoes and to actually understand, okay, so what's their age group? What's their background? What do they care most about? And then what's their language? Perhaps everyone speak Cantonese or everyone speak English, but then the language as in what are the common terms that they use? What are their contexts of understanding? So that actually makes it very, very important, as if, if I'm just talking to a non-tech person on all the tech jargons, I'll be, I'll be lost, right? But if I'm talking to a tech people, and then I'm using all the, business terms, ROI, engagement, and then they would be like, oh, actually, what are you talking about? So a clearly defined objective would be very important, in my sense of, in my view.
Great. William, anything to add?
Wow, thank you. That's very valuable. So actually, there's when let me say it this way, when we hear how Yina described Bamboo, that's exactly a very good pitch. So for me, the number one things I'm looking for is what problems are you going to solve with this new company, with this new idea, with this new initiative? What is the problem you're going to solve? And the second thing is exactly what Yina said. Who is your target audience? So when I talk to my wife, when I talk to my staff, when I talk to my founders, when I talk to my 5-year-olds, I have to use different language. Otherwise, they'll look at me blank. Try thinking I try to talk to my wife in the tone I talk to my staff. You won't see me in a few days. so those are the things I think is very valuable. The other thing is I very value the idea is once you know your audience and be confident. Confidence is a very important part. So you have to tell them, you have to ensure them, because it's going to be a very short meeting. I recall a meeting I had with some investors, including like very high level people, very high profile people. I have 1 hour in a language that I'm not accustomed to, which is Mandarin. I have to say I'm very poor in Mandarin. And the reasons I prepare presentations, but the pitch or the presentations ended up in a bouncing of idea of brainstorming. So because like they get so involved or exactly as Yina mentioned, engaged. So they don't want to hear what I want to put on the wall or on the slides. They want to hear my ideas. Because like remember, like if they are in the room, they know something about you, they know something about like what they want to invest or what they want to do. So it's very important like getting them engaged and that obviously becomes a very successful pitch, right? So when you get presentations in the brainstormings. And one more thing I would also like to add, besides like understand the problems, know your ideas, is also try to in that 30 minutes, 15 minutes, describe what is your rights to win, or why you are winning. Because like there are so many problems in the world, like everybody is trying to solve, and you can see a lot of companies are doing almost the same thing. So the problems to solve is the first step, but by defining exactly why you can win in this game or why you're better than the others, we'll also win the confidence from the investors, from other founders. Like imagine, like I talked to my wife saying that I'm quitting a job from a Fortune 50 to join a startup. So and then exactly those are the conversations, those are the hard conversation you have to share. But like so, I think like three things: understand the problems, be confident or know your audience, and tell exactly why you can win in this game. It is very important to me. Thank you.
Great, awesome. So I think both of you have spoke on the engagement side of things, right? So knowing your audience, how do you put the language in the same shoes so they can understand? And is there any tricks that you guys can do? We see some founders do questions. We see some founders do maybe a live game. Obviously, right now in the audience we have some teams that are upcoming to pitch. So I'm not telling you to take this right now and do it later at the pitch. But is there anything you think this might be a little trick that you use to catch the audience attention, or how do you usually engage with a new conversation? Maybe William, you can speak first on this.
Wow. So one thing I always say is like do your homework, or in Chinese 做好啲功課. Is very important. Like it's not just to the pitch. Is even like when you're looking for a job, when you're going for an interview, understand your audience, you know their backgrounds, and immediately you can build a rapport. So I remember like I met with some very very high profile people. Like once you saw the face, you know them. But like they can be okay, very friendly. Okay, hey, I am Lao Dawah, for example, and honestly I know who you are, I'm Indian. But like try not to do that. But like try to be calm, understand your audience, 做好啲功課, and know who they are. Because like the other thing I also want to say is listen carefully. There's a lot of how to say sometimes we fall into the trap of answering questions. So when answering questions is very important. Like I remember I read a book from Amos regarding Amos Source. It's not a book, it's just some bullet points. It's not like from Amos Source, every question there's only three answers. Whether it's a number, yes or no, or I don't know. You don't have to pretend. If you don't know, just say you don't know. Don't make weak things and instead of like doing all the backstories, okay, blah 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 blah, just answer yes and no. And if the investors want to know more how and what you think, he'll ask explicitly. And as I mentioned, if you know exactly what you are talking about, answering with a number is the best. How do you think the Hong Kong e-commerce market? Oh, by 2020 it will rise by 15.8%. That is like almost like one of the good answers. And besides these 3 points, one more point I want to add is try not to think only about the answers. Before you speak, think about why they are asking it. Usually when people ask the questions, it's not they really want to know the answers. It means like they have a little bit of uncertainty about your presentations, about what you have speak before. So they try to ask these questions to clarify it. And if you can get that out of the equations, then when you answer it, you are straight to the point. And it's almost like knowing your audience. One more tips that I always try to do is like I do it a little bit tricky. I'm going to share it openly. Sometimes like when you ask for some things, or when you try to look for an investment, you don't really need everybody to say yes. But the important point is like don't give anyone an excuse to say no. So you can think about like it looks stupid, but it's actually the case. If you do a very good pitch, I'll put in the money, but sometimes I'll be silly if I do not put in, and then people will still do it. Don't really think of the yes side, but try to do of the way that they cannot say no, and then you're always on the winning side of the equation.
No, I think that's actually very, very great point because that when I was out, in the real society, real world, that's actually when you grow up and then you realize that, the big difference that actually made, you as a student. And then after, becoming fresh graduate and, when you're not fresh anymore. So the minor difference there is actually like, do you actually, be more used to, the audience, like prepare your homework, and then do you actually be more calm and then understand your audience as well as, do you start to listen people beyond the words that they say. Even though if investor asks one question, two questions, but see beyond that, what are they worried about? Are they, they ask so many questions. Why is that? Like, are they because they are worried that, do you have the execution, or are they worried that the market is actually not big enough? So listen beyond the words that they say to actually find out that, the meaning behind or the worry behind. That's actually what really sets the difference and make the meetings way more meaningful. And that's actually also a tips of engagement as well. So a lot of people, because especially when you are, I would say when you were, still young, you were always trying to think, okay, I have so many things in my head to say. I've prepared for this meeting. I have so many things that I want to say, and then I keep saying it without listening. Like and then if there is a question coming out from, the audience, say for example, investor, advisor, or someone that you pitch to, don't take those questions as challenge. Listen to those questions and think about why, right? And then think about why, and then be calm to answer that. I think that actually like, instead of being too defensive. So a lot of people would take the question and then be like, oh, it's a challenge to me. No. They understand. They don't understand. They don't understand it at all. So that's what I hear the founders say a lot. They don't understand the idea at all. They don't understand it. So, if your pitch is good enough, it should be able to even let a 6-year-old kid understand it. So tailor your pitch to the audience. That's where you actually need to know the audience and also make it a good pitch. And what I think, if I have to choose like one most important element, the fundamental element is actually, do you understand your business inside out and truly believe in it? So if you understand it well enough, you don't actually have to memorize it. If I understand it well enough, I know who I'm serving to, I know every mechanism, I know what's the market size, I know what I'm doing, and if there is really one person, after you understand it inside out, if there is really one person that, ask the question that you don't know how to answer, that means it's a good audience. Listen to them and ask them, interesting, why would you think that way? This is a question that I have never thought about before. So you learn from them. So if you understand your business, inside out, there shouldn't be any question that challenge you. Like if there is a question that is actually challenging you, then learn from them. That's what I learned from my journey. We always listen to people and asking, oh, interesting, that's actually a good piece of advice that we would add to, what we are doing. And because, some might say, sales skill, pitching skill is very important, but that's something that you can train up. So, for example, like in contexts like this, I can't see all of your faces, so I don't know if you're engaged or not. I can't listen beyond your words. So what should I do? I still need to pitch. So that's where practice really come into play. by practicing what the advice that I actually gave to company is actually so different people have different ways. So I sort of have two ways. So my co-founder, what he likes to do is that he record his pitch and then play it to himself, and then actually, oh my god, this is actually how I like sound like. So you will actually like realize all the artifacts. But then for myself, I like to pitch. I like to force myself to pitch to literally everyone. When people ask me, oh, what do you do? Okay, then I practice it. It's the time for me to practice it. And then when you practice more and more, you realize that, okay, it comes naturally afterwards. So you have to force yourself to tell people about your idea. I think that there is also a meme, between first-time founder and serial entrepreneur. So the meme is that, if you're a first-time founder, you try to hold it in. Oh, I'm not going to tell people about my idea. Someone's going to steal it. If it's a good idea, people won't steal it. They can't do it. And then for a serial entrepreneur, they stand on the rooftop and shout to everyone, hey, here's my idea. Use my idea. So that actually sets the difference apart. And then for serial entrepreneur, when they shout out, they actually get feedback. So that's also a team boy, like a very senior person that actually taught me, like put your idea out there, tell people, then they would let you know, if it's good or bad.
Right. That's great. There's a lot of great advices and tricks here. And I'm going to just add one more thing too, because, previously experienced in teaching students how to pitch, I think a lot of the things that you guys have mentioned are, comes down to the state of mind of the people who pitch, right? If you're comfortable with the audience that you have right in front of you, you can naturally do all the things. How do you engage? How do you, ask questions? Don't see it as a challenge, all these things. And as you said, it just comes naturally, because when you don't think that people are challenging you, these are, maybe your friends. You're just pitching to friends, have a casual conversation, and then you can drive the brainstorming sessions forward, and then have people understand you more in a personal level. So I think we're coming short on time, so I'll go to the last question. Pointing at you guys, is that what's the last piece of advice that you guys will give for the upcoming teams, and then we can move on to the Q&A session.
Wow. Okay. So actually, I like the talk about from Yina point a bit. Practice is one part that I know I should, but I talk so much. I sometimes I hate my own voice. I don't record it. But actually, the one of I shouldn't say, there are times that I practice and it is very good results. So do more on the practice. So one last advice is like for founders. I think while no matter how good your idea, exactly like Yina said, like when you pitch, when you share with more people, one thing to bear in mind, you are there to ask for advice. It's not just about money. Money is the easy part. Money is always the easy part. Like in today's world, like that's not really hard to get the money in. But exactly like what like the Bamboo Networks is doing. So when you're a founder, try to concentrate on exactly what you are good at, on your ideas. And you might not be good at financing, getting the Excel, the balance sheet right. You may not be good at PR. You may not be good at other things. Try to get your investors understand what is your strength and what your weakness. If they really want to help you with your idea, if they are very clear about your weakness, they will chime in and make sure it's very successful. So I think that one more important thing, or the last thing, is like when nobody is perfect. Even if you work for 50 years, 60 years, no one can be perfect. Look at some of the presidents of the countries in the world. Like they are of course less than perfect. Try to understand your strength and understand your weakness, and don't be too protective or too defensive. When people say okay, it's perfectly okay to say I don't know. I even talked to my 5 years old that I don't know a lot of things. How can I know what is the name of that unicorn on the TV, right? So it is perfectly okay to say I don't know, but like try to be very confident in telling people what you know and what your expertise in, and these areas you might need help, and then the investor will feel comfortable working with you along the way. And also nowadays, one last piece is like a lot of people said it like almost like a buzzword now. What I want to say is like be agile. Like I think a lot of people talk about it. One last example I want to say is by April I was talking to someone externally, and he said like, no, it's not the plan that we built in November. And I looked at him, I said like, in November in 2019, who the hell in the world will knows what happened in the world right now? The plan basically falls apart. Let's be real. Let's look at the world right now and move on. Look at what we can do. So those are the really things. Like, if what I want to say is, if you plan something, it doesn't work out, you have to be agile as a founder. The reason that you are a startup, the good thing is you can turn around very quickly. You have less people to turn around. So that's exactly the benefit of the good company. So understand your strength and weakness and be agile is my last piece of advice. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah. So perhaps my last piece of advice is actually the a little bit more psychological, but that's actually the thing that we have been mentioning throughout this half hour, is that don't let fear get into your head. Step out of your comfort zone. So especially for a lot of people, like if I'm especially if you're a student, right? Like, this is your comfort zone where that I can still tell people that I'm a student. I'm pitching like it's my project. No one in this world, like, no one would treat you as a student anymore if you want to be an entrepreneur. And no matter how old you are, no matter, some people think that, I'm too old to start a business. Some people that, think that I'm too young to start a business. No one ever think like that. Like, if you succeed, you succeed. And don't let any fear get into your head. Like, even for pitching, don't let any fear get into your head, as in, don't fear that, if it's Lao Hua, then I'm so scared. Like, how can I talk to him? If it's some senior people, like, how can I talk to them? Right? Or so don't let that fear get into your head. Like, that's why so many public speaking, I think a lot of people would still get nervous, before public speaking. It's natural. It's fine. It's fine to be, a little bit nervous, but don't let that fear get into your head that actually affect your performance. So I think that's the last piece of advice.
Awesome. So for the audience right now here on this live chat, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it on the live chat, and I'll pick a few to ask William and Yina. And then while we're waiting, I just want to add a little bit more on the student side that Yina, you just mentioned. Personally, I've been co-founder of a startup when I was still a student, and this is exactly right. Like, nobody is going to get you. Nothing is going to get you faster into the real world when you become an entrepreneur. As you said, nobody's going to treat you like a student. You can't just go into the pitch with investors and say, "Hey, I'm a second-year student from this university. Now I want to just borrow you 5 minutes to listen to pitch." And this is exactly how you get into the real world. Is you jump in and give it a try. Always be not fearful in what you do. And then I think this is the best piece of helping entrepreneurs to move forward. Let's see if we have any questions come in the audience. Let's see. We see a lot of hand claps here on the screen. That's great.
So whiskey time now?
Yeah.
It's Friday at 4 p.m.
Yeah. No, I think 4 p.m. Let's grab tea. But then, actually, apart from so probably if we still have time, one more thing is that for example, like language. I just realized that today is using English to pitch, which actually a lot of people fear about that. Like, language is an issue for a lot of people. But then I think do anything that could sort of help you overcome it. Everyone has their own little tricks. So for example, if you need to pitch English, if you're not comfortable about it, like, just remember a few keywords on each session, and then go really, really slow about it. Don't try to memorize it. Right? And then, or if you have to pitch in Mandarin, which I think a lot of people, might be fearing, okay, I'm not good at Mandarin, I have to pitch in Mandarin. Sometimes, like, bring a colleague that, that is good at Mandarin with you, and then they could help, do whatever things that will actually help you, on your journey. But yeah, don't be too scared about that, or train up the language ability.
I fully agree to that. Like, when about language, I am very. I'm not okay. I can speak, I can talk in Mandarin, but like, my wife always complains my Mandarin is very bad. And like I do a lot of independent consultancy jobs, and usually I do it in English, like which is quite okay. And one time a client is saying that okay, he wants to be in Mandarin. I said okay, I just afraid he won't understand me on a phone call, on a voice call. And I did exactly what Yina said, like try to talk slowly. And I'm also lucky he's from Shanghai. Shanghai, the Mandarin is not as tough as the northern part of Beijing. But one thing is exactly like even for the language, a lot for almost most of the people that I met, they are very tolerant because they know that we are not the native speakers, whether it's Mandarin, whether it's English. If you do a little bit of homework and try to, if they're from Italy, if they're from France, try to learn a little bit of those phrases, they'll be very happy, right? Just imagine you see Beckham come to Hong Kong and say "Nei hou ma," and you feel crazy about it. So don't be shy on that, but be confident. And exactly as Ina said, like if you have the spare time, don't let it grow till my age so old, but learn Mandarin much faster than you do. That's what my girls is doing. But also at the same time, don't just let your idea flow. Keep saying that if you cannot speak certain words, stop, slow down, and people will be tolerate because they know you are not the native speakers. That's how I feel it, and how I actually experience it in the real world.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
very true.
Yeah, I think the most pressure that comes from is within yourself. Like you always judge yourself. Oh, I'm not good enough in English. I'm not good enough in Mandarin. But as William you mentioned, people know that you're not native. They're super tolerant in how you speak. They try to understand.
Exactly.
They give you mercy.
So
Right.
Jeff, you mentioned you're singing with Andy Lau on stage. Basically, we are still big steps on your end.
Yeah. We'll keep that in the whiskey time after we go back to that stage. Great, awesome. So thank you a lot, William. Thank you a lot, Yina, for your time to share with us today. And I'll pass the stage back to Siren.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, thanks, Jeff, Yina, and William. It is really great sharing about the pitch and also some tips to the startup. And I hope that they can learn more about how to pitch their ideas and make some improvements. And we will take a break now, and our next session is another startup demo. And actually, they are the winning teams of the Entrepreneurial Future Leaders Challenge before. And we will resume the session at 4:30. And please enjoy networking, and also see you again at the next sessions. Thank you.